We're going to now invite two special guests who I hope a lot of you have met before, who are going to give a local look at, as a lung cancer community, how can we maximize our stories? And so I'm thrilled to turn it over to Sandy Oler, and Sandy leads all of our events for Lung Cancer Initiative, and Lane Moore, and Lane leads all the communications for Lung Cancer Initiative. Both have been participating in a special program through the Lung Cancer Action Network. So Sandy, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Paige. So I'm going to try to share my screen here. Let's get that going. Okay. So as Paige said, my name is Sandy, and I have been with the Lung Cancer Initiative from the beginning. And I am currently the Director of Special Events, as Paige said, leading all of our events and supporting the committees that actually make those events happen. I'm also an 18-year lung cancer survivor. Lane and I have been participating in a 10-week training series with LungCan media training. And LungCan is the Lung Cancer Action Network, comprised of lung cancer organizations from across the country, focusing on awareness and trying to make a difference. LungCan media training gave us a wonderful opportunity to learn from very dynamic presenters like TJ Walker, Chris Draft, who I know is on here right now, and many other experts in how to effectively communicate their message to the media. We have a very, very short amount of time to try to share with you weeks of training that we've gone through. So I'm going to turn it over to Lane so he can give you just a little taste of what we have been learning. Lane?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lane Moore, and I'm LCI's Communications and Development Specialist. I've been with the organization for about 1.5 years now. And first, I'd just like to say that the Lung Cancer Advocate Media Training presented by LungCan in collaboration with Media Training Worldwide was fantastic. TJ and Jake are excellent communicators and amazing teachers. Plus, the experience was very unique and incredibly helpful since we could rely on Dusty and other advocate speakers like Chris to help craft our message. So as Sandy said, we don't have nearly enough time to cover everything that we learned, but we do have a couple of very practical tips that you can put into action right now. So the first one is knowing your audience. You should, before you craft your message, you should know the media outlet that you're going to use and that media outlet's audience. For instance, Facebook and Twitter, even though they're social media, they do have different audiences. And social media has a different audience than print media. And print media is going to have a different audience than a TV. So before you craft your message, just know who you're talking to. To define your audience further, you can just stick with the classic journalism: who, what, where, when, and why, right? Like by answering these questions, you should have an idea of what you want to talk about, who you're talking to, and why are you talking about this specific aspect of lung cancer? And we can go on to the next slide. So the number one, or one of the biggest takeaways that Sandy and I had from TJ was, just be yourself. Don't compare your story or communication skills to anyone else. We've had so many wonderful speakers here today that if Sandy and I were to compare ourselves to everybody who came before us, we would not be doing ourselves any favors at all. I think that what we need to keep on the forefront of our minds when crafting these messages is that, we're here to help people. And that's why everybody's attending this summit. We're not here to get the most Twitter followers. We're not here to look the best on camera. We're here to help real people and make a difference. I think that if we just keep this at the forefront before we even craft our message, that this can help everybody be more calm and confident and relaxed communicators. So one of the most helpful things that I believe that TJ talked about was, think of 3 messages that you want to tell. I know that probably everybody here could talk about lung cancer for hours, right? But you normally don't have hours. If you're going to put out a message on Twitter, you only have 280 characters. That's just, that's a handful of words. It's like 2 sentences tops. So what you should do is pick the 3 messages that you want to convey, and then just write 6 to 12 sound bites per the message. For instance, like, what is a sound bite? Well, a sound bite is just a concise, quick, simple sentence that's memorable and quotable. For instance, the 3 messages that we talked about and that we condensed into sound bites were, number 1, anybody can get lung cancer. Number 2 was research matters. And number 3 is that there is hope. So some of the sound bites that I wrote when doing some of my homework assignments for anyone can get lung cancer would start with, well, anyone can get lung cancer. If you're breathing right now, you can get lung cancer. And if you have lungs, then you are potentially at risk of one day being diagnosed with lung cancer. It's always good when crafting your message to have 6 to 12 sound bites before you even begin to craft your message. That way, when you're taken out of context, because whether you do an in-person interview on TV and a journalist is, writing an article about you, or whether you're doing a tweet, right, you're going to be taken out of context. But if somebody puts in a paper, anyone can get lung cancer, I'm fine. I'm fine if that's the only message that I get across. I'm fine with that. Or if they take the second soundbite, if you're breathing right now, you can get lung cancer, that's fine too. So this is why it's always important, no matter what media you're using, to just pack your messages with sound bites. So the next thing that we're going to talk about are just some basic do's and don'ts when capturing media yourself, typically through your phone, since that's the way that a lot of us have been interacting lately during the COVID-19 pandemic. So the number 1 piece of advice is, anytime you're taking an image or video with your phone, you want to shoot it horizontally. You want to be in landscape mode, because you can see the picture on the right with the black bars. You get that when you film or when you take a picture and you're holding your phone like this, right? So if you just always film and take your pictures horizontally, then you're not going to run into that. Another thing that's worth mentioning, is, Zoom is not an effect, right? So don't, like when you're filming or taking a picture, don't zoom in while you're filming or taking a picture, and don't even zoom in before you start filming or taking a picture. It's better just to get closer to your subject than it is to try to zoom in, because that's going to degrade the quality of your photo and the quality of your videos. It's always good to have your, whatever you're filming with, be about 3.5 feet away from you. And it's always good to prop up what you're filming. So for instance, when I filmed throughout quarantine or did these homework assignments, I would usually just have a stack of books, right? And that just gives me something steady to film with. So some of the other advice is make sure the area that you're recording in is well lit. For instance, there is some shadows on my face right now because I have all of my lighting is overhead. Another thing to consider is that, natural lighting is your friend. Whenever I'm, filming inside an office, it does make you look a little luminous when you have like the fluorescent lighting. So natural lighting is your friend. You don't need to get fancy or have like your own lighting system or get one of those Instagram ring things that everybody's using lately. Natural lighting is perfect. And you want to make sure that you're always facing the light. So for instance, right now, the ideal light for me would be if the light was coming from behind my laptop. If the light was coming, say, from a window over here, it's just gonna, whitewash me, and then I'm gonna look kind of, really blurry. I'm already very pale, so I'm just gonna look more pale than I am. And another place where you don't want to put your lighting is behind you, because if the lighting was behind me, my entire face would be dark and I would look kind of like that I was in the witness protection program, right? So like, that's not what I want at all. I want to always make sure that the lighting that I'm using, that I'm facing it the entire time. Another thing to remember is you always want to film in a quiet place. And a lot of times people think they're in a quiet place, right? Because they might be, you know, at a park where nobody's at, or they might be outside in front of their home filming. But, you know, even just moderate wind, your camera, and, you know, it will pick that up, and you can get a lot of just white noise from wind. So anytime that you film, it's always best that when you're done filming, that you do play back the video, and that you do look for things like, you know, is there black bars? Was I standing too close or too far? And, you know, is it picking up wind? Another thing is that maybe you're filming outside in front of your house, and your street's not a particularly busy street, but maybe the street behind you is, and maybe it's not in your video because you have a bunch of trees in your backyard. Well, the camera will still pick up on all of the traffic going back and forth, even sometimes if it's a street over. One of the other biggest pieces of advice is, you know, just take your time. Anytime that you're filming or recording, it's always best if you can give like 15 seconds of silence at the start and then 15 seconds of silence at the end. That way, if you're sending a video to me and I'm going to edit it, or you're sending it to somebody else that's going to edit it, they have some room to work with, right? And then also, if you make a mistake, like I said, remember, we're here to help people and to make a real difference. We're not here to be perfect. So, you know, just take a deep breath, pause for 5 seconds, and that will give whoever's editing your video some time and room to, you know, splice up the video and put different things together. You know, if you mess up maybe multiple times in a row, or you're talking fast and there's a couple of mess ups, yeah, you might want to refilm that. But, you know, really just take your time. Anytime you mess up, just take a deep breath and pause. Back to you, Sandy.
Thanks, Lane. So I wanted to just take an opportunity as the Director of Special Events to promote the events that are coming up. And one of the ways that Lung Cancer Initiative really tries to promote awareness is through these events. And it's a huge way to get the word out to people who may not necessarily know anything about lung cancer. So the next event that we have coming up is a National Cancer Survivors Day, and that's on Sunday, June 6th. So that's right around the corner. Really excited to announce that our very first in-person event is going to be taking place, woohoo, on June 17th, Thursday, June 17th. The wine walk will take place at Lafayette Village in Raleigh. So I hope everybody can join us for that. There's no advanced registration. You show up on that day and come to the LCI tent. Then we also have a great big announcement that our Lunge Forward websites are now open, and you will be getting a lot of information next week, but I wanted to announce it today that for Charlotte, the Triad and Triangle, those websites are live for our September 18th events that will be taking place all on the same day. We'll also have some pop-up events in remote areas that will be taking place, so stay tuned for more information about that. If you're a golfer or you know somebody who's a golfer, the Triangle Lung Cancer Golf Classic will be on Columbus Day, Monday, October 11th. And I hope you can sign up. That's also live and ready to go. And that is on the LCI website right now. The Evening of Hope Gala we're going to host this year during Lung Cancer Awareness Month. And that's Saturday, November 6th at Northridge Country Club. And every Wednesday, or excuse me, the first Wednesday of every month, we have our online survivors luncheon. So if you are a survivor and you have not joined one of those, Jenny and Colleen do a terrific job hosting those each month, and I hope you can join those. And that is it.
Thank you so much, Sandy and Lane. That was excellent. And I was taking copious notes, and I will not forget that natural lighting is my friend. So I wrote that down. But thank you. And I know you all are going to hang on for our breakout sessions too. So if folks have questions, definitely hope we can discuss there. Really quickly, before I turn it back to Colleen, an important part of advocacy is really understanding advancements in treatment and hearing from our medical professionals too. So tomorrow, I invite you to come back at 9 o'clock. We're going to talk about new lung cancer treatment strategies and biomarker testing and supportive care during survivorship. So I do hope you'll join us, and then we'll pull it all together at the end of our session tomorrow to just talk about ways that you can get involved as an advocate. So thank you so much for joining today. I hope you'll stay for the networking sessions. We can't be in person, but it's a great way for us to connect virtually. So Colleen, I'm going to turn it to you for directions for what we do next.